to Lady in Waking. If you have never been here before, my name is Ashley. I am a pop culture geek and vintage enthusiast in my 40s, trying to see how I can make my vintage style work in my 40s. So if that's something you've been struggling with, or if you just want some vintage tips, some traditional vintage tips, some kind of fake it tips, feel free to subscribe, like, comment, all of that good stuff so that you'll be alerted whenever I upload. I try to be here every week. Today I am running really behind. I'm hoping to get this video up on Saturday, but typically I upload on Wednesdays or Fridays. So if you have any suggestions or questions, then feel free to ask below. Today what I'm doing is something a little bit different. I've decided I'm going to go through my makeup brushes. I have a lot of them, not as many as some, I am sure, but I have quite a few, and I'm wanting to sort of purge a few that I feel like are not something that I would use. Give a few to my daughter. She can inherit them. She's 11, so she's going to need her own makeup brushes anyway. But most of these brushes are Clinique or Sigma. And I've just sort of developed a collection over the years. Some of them were gifted to me years ago by the company, but they've all held up really well. It's just that there's some that I just use more than others. So I'm going to go through these individually, and then I will show you how I clean them, because they are all in desperate need of a cleaning, and you will see that as you look at them. The first thing I'm going to do is go through some brushes that are random miscellaneous brushes that don't really have a category. The first one is this Real Techniques brush. This is a smudge brush. I don't know if many of you use a smudge brush, but I have found that they are very, very handy for smudging eyeliner under the eye. Applying very small detail work at the outer corner. Just a really great brush to have on hand, and this one from Real Techniques is excellent, so I will definitely be keeping it. Another brush I have that I've sort of just come by over the years is this Lancome kind of pointed crease brush. I actually don't like this brush. I don't think I will use it, but I'm going to give it to my daughter and see if she will get some use out of it, maybe as she develops her own little skills. But this egg shape is just too defined. I feel like it doesn't give me enough play. It packs it on a little too much and makes it more difficult to blend. So I end up having to use another blending brush as well. And if that's the case, then why have it? So this one will no longer be in my collection. And then the last one of my miscellaneous category here is this highlighter brush. I never use this. For one thing, highlighter is something I use very sparingly, and when I do use it, I use it very lightly with a very loose brush, and I'll show you the brush that I use to apply highlighter. This applies highlighter in the traditional early 2000s manner, which is basically a streak. And I know glowy skin, glitter ball skin was very much a thing for a while, and I'm sure some people still absolutely love it, but this brush has never been good for applying anything. It's too big to use on the eyes, it's too dense to use on the face. It's definitely gone. Okay, so the next thing we'll be talking about is my foundation brushes. These are my two different options that I currently have as buffing brushes. Now, I have had others in the past that have fallen apart. I used a Sigma flat top buffing brush for years and finally realized that that brush kept falling apart. The bristles kept coming out in a chunk, and I would call Sigma and they were wonderful. They would like replace it every time, but I'm like, how many times is this brush gonna fall apart before I realize that I just don't need this brush? It's stupid. So I have started using a couple more. This is one by a brand called Studio Gear that we used to carry at Dillard's, and I don't think this brand is around anymore, but this brush was wonderful for applying liquid foundation. At first, it's very dense, it has a ton of bristles, and because of its density and the fact that I think it's a natural product, it's not synthetic, it actually did not hold up to washing like I thought it would. If I used my traditional cleanser to wash this brush, it just doesn't seem to get out of the bristles. I feel like there is always a little bit of makeup left in the bristles, and when I use an oil to condition my brush, as I always do, it just seems like it holds on to the oil. So when I try to use this brush, even after it's clean, I feel like it still maintains a little bit of oiliness, and it's just become one that it's started losing a lot of its bristles. That's my cat trying to come in. I've just kind of decided to stop using it. I haven't used it in quite some time actually, so I'm going to definitely get rid of this one. Because Ruby has oilier skin, I kind of hesitate to give this to her because I don't want her to have so much trouble cleaning it that she can't get rid of the oil and therefore use the brush. So this one is going away. Do y'all want to see Rurnt? Where you at? This is Rurnt. Y'all ready to see the cutest cat that has ever been born? This kitty is my life. Say Rurnt. Her name is Rurnt. Here in the South, when something is messed up, we call it Rurnt. She's Rurnt. She's so beautiful. She's, I guess, what they call a magic tortie. And she's fluffy and soft and sweet. And she has one paw that looks like it's been dipped in cream and one pink toe. You can't see it, she won't let us look. But she has a pink toe. Just one. The rest of them are gray. You say hi, Rurnt? You're pretty? So, next. Oh, so my other buffing brush, the ones I've been really loving, these are the ones by Clinique. And these were made specifically for the Beyond Perfecting foundation. This is a buffing face brush. It does have a little bit of that issue with the oiliness. It's hard to clean way down in there because the looser bristles are the double bristles, the more loose ones are on top, and then it's very dense down in here. The brush holds up to washing amazingly well, and it applies liquid, especially full coverage liquid foundation, extremely well. But it is a little bit difficult to clean, but we will show you how that we clean it in a little bit. And I have a little small travel size and a large size, keeping both of these for sure. I'll probably keep this one in my kit because I'm going to start doing freelance makeup soon, and this one will be for home. Then we're going to move on to powder brushes. I have a bunch. Don't need all these. This one is from Clinique. It's very loose, very fluffy, soft. I think it's natural bristles. It's fine. I don't really use this sort of a brush for loose powder. I will show you what I use instead. So I'm going to give this one to my daughter because it's probably the best quality powder brush that I have. But these three are all basically the same. Well, this Clarins one is much softer, has more of a dome feel, and it's so soft. So I forgot I had this one. I think I might keep this one because it does work well for like body powder. But these two are pretty much the same sort of brush. They've lost their shape. They're very dense and they're very soft, but they're just not as, they're not ones that I reach for every time. And both of these are from Sigma, different ones. I think this is from like a color collection kit that they had, and then this one is the actual SS150. They're not bad powder brushes, I just use powder so rarely and I use it so sparingly that a dense brush like this usually puts too much powder on my face. So I will not be needing these, and since I'm giving Ruby the Clinique one, these will go elsewhere. Purge. Purge. Okay, and then this is a small kabuki style powder brush that came with my Clinique brush kit. It's fine, it's extremely soft. And because it's so nice and soft, I will probably keep it for an additional like body powder type brush. Like if I want to put highlight on my body or on my collarbone, it will work well for that. But yeah, again, a little bit too dense for my face powder. My face powder brush that I use is this one here. This is actually, I believe, what's called a powder foundation brush from Clinique. It is slim, like an egg shape, and it has a dome top, and it's natural bristle, and it's exactly right for applying powder. I like to use a powder puff to apply powder a lot of times, but if I don't have a powder puff, then what I do is dip this in my Dermablend powder and just tap it. And if I want to apply highlight, I just sweep with this very loose, soft, the bristles give. This is incredible. I love this brush. So this is the only powder brush I'll ever use or need. All right, moving on to foundation brushes. These are all very similar. These are the standard traditional brush foundation brushes. I have two by Clinique that came with a free gift. If you ever get these from Clinique, they're fine if you just are somebody who paints your foundation on your face the way that we used to do when we first came up with brushes for foundation. But honestly, they're a little too slick and dense for, I feel like, a very good application. but they are amazing for applying masks. So I will keep both of these to apply masks. But as far as an actual foundation brush goes, you can see that some of these have definitely lived a better life. This one is starting to splay. This is a synthetic foundation brush by Pirouette, and I just don't feel like anyone's going to really get any use out of it. It's losing a lot of its hairs. Both of these are from Sigma. This is the SS190 from a few years ago, and then this is from that same color kit that I had. I will probably keep this one for my kit, but not use it myself because I never use these types of brushes on myself. And I will let Ruby have this one because these are dense and they're losing a little bit of their hairs. See how many, see, one comes out every time I do that. That should not happen. It just feels like the ferrule isn't holding on to the brush like it should. So I'm gonna go ahead and let Ruby have this one, but I very seriously doubt she'll ever use it. Next we have eyeshadow application brushes. This is for basic eyeshadow application. Everybody needs one basic eyeshadow brush for packing color on the lid, and I don't really use any of these regularly except for this one, and this is my cheap little Walmart one, but it's the size, you see how much shorter it is than the others? It's also the size of the bristles. Do you see how much shorter the bristles are and how much wider? This is ideal for packing color along the lid. I love this brush and I've used it for years, so I will continue to use it. The rest of these I will probably save this one for my kit, and then this one's like a looser version of that same thing. I'll probably keep that one and this one for Ruby. We have concealer brushes. Again, I don't really use concealer brushes, to be honest. Does anyone really use concealer brushes? Of this kind anyway, that looks like a little paintbrush. I guess they're really good for covering blemishes. I would say this is probably really good for like redness around the edges of the nose, and you can kind of tap it in with your finger. This one is the Clinique version of the concealer brush. It is very small for a concealer brush, but I actually like this for a lipstick brush. It is excellent for lipstick, especially someone with fuller lips, because sometimes those really little tiny lipstick brushes are very, very difficult to get the color even. This is excellent for that. And then this one is totally falling apart. You can see how the bristles have just started to splay, and it actually kind of hurts when I touch it to my eye. So I'm gonna get rid of this one. Now we're going on to angled brushes. I only have 2 angled brushes, so I will keep one for my kit and one for home. The angled brushes that I have, the one that I prefer is one that is a little smaller. My eyes are a little bit smaller, so if I'm going to do an angled brush, which is basically great for taking color and condensing it and pulling it in from the outer corner, I love a smaller, denser version. These are both Sigma, but you'll see this one is much larger and a little fluffier. This one works a little better to kind of blend color into the outer crease, and so for this one, I would keep this one for my kit and this one for my own personal use. Blush brushes. I am not somebody who really likes a straightforward blush brush. I like an angled blush brush. These are all 3 of them pretty good. However, this one is starting to lose its hairs. Okay, so I don't like a straightforward blush brush very much. I find it a little difficult to keep the color in place. So this type of brush, it's fine, and Ruby may end up loving this kind of blush brush. It's an extremely soft one from Clinique, so I'm going to give this one to her to put in her kit to inherit. And then these 2 are angled brushes. They both need cleaning, from Sigma. This one, I feel like that the brushes that came in these color collection kits from a few years ago, they didn't hold up nearly as well to washing as the original brushes did. I feel like they're slightly less quality. Lesser quality, so I'll probably keep this one in my kit and keep this one for personal use. But this is the SS168, the angled blush brush. Still a great one. And then I'm moving on to detail brushes, pencil brushes if you will. These 3 are my pencil brushes. This one is from Clinique. This one is the Sigma color kit, and this is the regular Sigma brush. Now, the regular Sigma brush is denser and rounder. The one that came with the kit is much more pointed, but honestly a little bit looser. And the one from Clinique, I don't think should even count as a pencil brush at all. It's very, very loose and very round and almost too fluffy. I do feel like this serves a purpose. I'm going to keep it for my kit. But this one is just too pointed for me. I feel like it drags the color. It doesn't diffuse the color as it applies it. So I'm going to give this one to Ruby as her first pencil brush, and I'm going to keep this one for my own personal use, but it's my favorite. It is just the right shape, I feel like, for a pencil brush. It's loose, it's fluffy, it's a little bit more compact, and it's still small. Moving on to angled brushes. We may have to cut this into 2 videos, and I apologize, but moving on to angled brushes. We have a very large collection of these. This is the one from Real Techniques. I feel like there's no use for this brush. It's a synthetic brush, but it just holds on to everything you apply it. The handle has gotten sticky. If anybody understands why these Real Techniques handles go sticky, please tell me. I don't really know what it is. Maybe it's makeup, maybe it's residue, maybe it's... I have no idea. But they all got sticky on me. Either way, this brush is not even good for eyebrows. I feel like it's too large, so I'm going to just get rid of it. This angle brush from the Color Connect collections of Sigma is just not fine enough. Do you see how thick that is? It just doesn't apply the color pointedly enough. It's not sharp enough or chiseled enough. I don't think that there's any use for this in my kit. I don't even really think Ruby would be able to work with it, so I'm getting rid of this one. This one is from Sigma. It's the SS266. Now this is a nice chiseled eyebrow brush or a angle brush, but it's a little soft. So it doesn't quite serve the purpose that I would like it to for an angle brush. It does work well for detail work, so I'll keep it in my kit. This is another really nice flat, even more razor sharp chisel brush. This is by ColourPop. Again, this one works pretty well for brows, pretty well for gel liner. I will keep this in my kit. This one from Clinique is just not sharp enough. It's too soft. I don't understand the point of it. I'm going to give it to Ruby to kind of play around with as a detail brush, and it's a really good starter angle brush, I guess, but it just doesn't do what I want it to do. So for my own personal use, I will continue to use this. This is Miss Makeup little $5 brush from Walmart, which is phenomenal. It is just the right stiffness. It's just the right thickness. It's perfect for brows. It's perfect for smoking out a wing liner. There was a little rubber grip right here, has come off, but I will never find a brush I like as well as this when it comes to an angled brush. So this one I'm keeping. And then we can move on to just a couple more options. These are my blending brush collection. Blending brushes serve a variety of purposes for me. I cannot imagine being able to just use one blending brush ever. My pet peeve though is a blending brush that is too loose and too fat, because my eye space is kind of small, and when I use a big fat blending brush, I feel like everything diffuses too much and I don't get the look that I want. I'm going to go in order from my least favorite to my favorite. This one is from Clinique. It is my least favorite. It's enormous. It's extremely soft. I don't even know what I would use this for. I'm going to give it to Ruby because it is a good quality brush, but honestly, it's not one that I would ever use in my kit or for myself. It's just too large and too dense. And then this one from ColourPop, I'm not sure how you're supposed to blend with this, but it's very flat and it's not fluffy. And it's more of an eyeshadow application brush as opposed to a blending brush. I was never able to actually use this for very good blending, so I will probably just give this to Ruby to use. It's a very inexpensive brush also. Then I have this one from the Color Kit collection of Sigma. This one is just too soft. It just has no density to it at all, and it's just too big. It just takes up my entire crease area, and it just blends a little too much. It causes too much diffusing, so I won't be keeping that one. But these three have a very specific purpose in my collection. This one is amazing for applying crease color. I do not know what brand this is. If anybody recognizes this white handle, I believe it's like a Walmart or Wet n Wild brush. But this brush is amazing for applying crease color in pretty much every eye size. I think the bristles were originally pink. I'm going to wash it and see, but I will definitely be keeping this one. This is another really great, like little egg-shaped crease brush that works really well for that same purpose, and it's the Real Techniques version. But the negative to it is it has the sticky handle, which I don't know why the handles are sticky. It's a really great crease brush, a great first crease brush. I'm gonna give this one to Ruby. This is a Sigma travel size crease brush. It's excellent for applying color to the crease. It's even more defined than that first one, the Wet n Wild one. So this one also I use if I'm doing a more like cut crease and I just want to blend a little. This brush is amazing. I have been singing its praises for years. It's the SS217. It's the travel size of the 217 from Sigma. I love it. I'll hold on to it for my collection. And then this is my favorite blending brush. This one is the SS224. You can see it's a little dense, it's much rounder, and it's not nearly as soft. So it's perfect for actually applying color into the crease. You can blend the color into the crease without it going everywhere, and that's why I love this so much. So this is my favorite blending brush. Oh, I have two more kinds of brushes. These are both brushes that I think are listed as blending brushes, but to me they are far too dense to be blending brushes. They are far better for applying concealer. I use a dense brush like this to apply concealer under my eyes because it gives it an airbrushed finish, and I've been doing it for years. And this one from Real Techniques, which I'm not even sure what the brush is technically called. Oh, the Deluxe Crease Brush is what it's called. This works better for, it's a synthetic bristle. It works better for under eye concealer than anything I've ever used. I think I've sold so many people on this brush. It's amazing. Get this one for your concealer. I'll have that one in my kit, and then in my personal kit, and then this one will go into my kit for clients. This one is by Pirouette. It's also synthetic. It's just a little too big. So I don't like it as well as the other. It's also a little more splayed out. It's not as domed, so that makes it not work quite as well. And then last but not least, we have lipstick brushes. Again, I like that Clinique or that concealer brush to use for lipstick a lot of the time, especially like liquid lipsticks. But when it comes to just standard lipstick application brush, I have a few here. This one is the portable. That one's great for my kit, so I'll be keeping that. That one's from Clinique. And then this is the standard lipstick brush from Clinique. Works really well for defining around the edges of the lips. Keep that one for myself. So I've got quite a few I'm keeping, but I'm also purging a few, the ones that just taking up space in my collection. And I will show you now how I wash them. The first thing I do is I put a little puddle of extra virgin olive oil into a little dish, and then I use about the same amount, so it's about 50-50 equivalents of Dawn dishwashing liquid. And then I'll take the makeup brush, and if it's a powder applying brush, I don't use as much oil. I use less oil with the brushes that I use for powder application, but then I just work it into my hand and then just rinse the brush in water until it runs clear. And you'll see that brush was brown before and now it's pink. And then this is my foundation brush, so you'll see I focused a little bit more on the olive oil side. And then what I do is I just work it back and forth in my hand, and I press against my hand until the water actually runs clear. You'll see all that foundation coming out of the brush, and you'll see that the bristles just magically turn white. It's pretty incredible technique. I don't know what I would have done without this particular recipe for brush cleansing. I know Michelle Phan made a video years ago about doing her brushes this way, and it has completely it's made the life of my brushes last so much longer. But you can see it's very clean now. It's even clean all the way down to the ferrule, and that is why this particular brush cleanse method is so good. And again, I'm just tapping the brush back and forth between the olive oil and the Dawn dishwashing liquid. And then I'm going to just kind of swirl it around in my hand and then put the water, or rinse the water over the palm of my hand as I press the brush until all of the cleanser and all of the product comes out. And you'll see that if your brushes have any color to them, that it just completely reverts them back to their original color. It gets all of the product out. And that is why I have been using this particular brush method for so long. You will also see that your brushes just maintain their life a lot longer. Now this brush has some staining. I don't know exactly what blushes that I've used that cause the staining, but you'll see this one doesn't go back completely white. But it does create a really nice lather when you use the Dawn liquid and the olive oil, and I barely use a touch of olive oil on this particular brush because I don't want the bristles to be oily, of course. So that's all. Hopefully that was helpful to you. It helped you kind of get an idea of what kind of brushes that I found the most useful, but also maybe helped you to rediscover some brushes that you may want to try, or some brushes that you may want to just get rid of on your own because you're just not using them. I feel like it's just pointless to have a bunch of wasted space in our collection. And hopefully that cleaning technique, which you may have discovered on YouTube years ago from Michelle Phan like I did, but if not, that was it. It's great, it's easy, it's cheap, it's user-friendly. And then I usually try to keep a spray brush cleaner around just for in between, or a baby wipe. But lately I've just been using a baby wipe, so if I use my brushes on myself and I just want to spruce them up a little, I'll just rub them onto a baby wipe, and that usually takes care of them for a little while. But I try to deep clean them at least once a month, but I know it's been a while. But yeah, that's all. I was going to make an additional video, but I don't think I have space on my phone. I was going to talk about my love and my newfound passion for the Ordinary skincare. Some of you were really warmly spoke of Ordinary on my Instagram, and so I took your advice and I tried it and I love it. I've been using the Ordinary now for a few weeks, so I will make a video next week about that, as well as possibly another tutorial. And just don't forget to check TikTok and check Reels for additional tutorials, little fast ones. But no more waiting around. Let's take advantage of now to get ourselves happy and healthy, and don't wait until it's too late.